Let's go now to Ukraine, where huge fires and explosions in Kiev coincided with just an incredible night of violence. And we'll show you some video from Kiev. 25 dead in Kiev, protesters stoking what they're calling a ring of fire, separating themselves from the riot police in some kind of final effort to defend a stage on Independence Square. And this has been a focal point of the protests that have now lasted about 3 months. Ukraine's health ministry said that 25 people, including police officers, protesters, and a journalist, were found dead on a side street near the square, and that they had been killed after hundreds of riot police officers advanced on anti-government demonstrators and also on subsequent street fights that were going on nearby. The health ministry also saying that 241 people were injured and that 9 of the dead were police officers. The Interior Ministry said all the police officers died from gunshot wounds, but witnesses said that it appeared many of the officers were simply trapped in a burning armored vehicle. This is the worst violence now in the 3+ months of the protests. This has essentially paralyzed Kiev. Tourists posting pictures from their hotels surrounding Independence Square and just huge fires in the square. And for people who are kind of following this very loosely, very tangentially, this is as if you were, I don't know. I don't know what's a good analogy, but if you were in New York City and you were in a hotel near Washington Square Park, where Fifth Avenue starts, and Washington Square Park is just on fire, right? I mean, this is a very serious and active, I call it an explosive situation, and that's literally what it is.
Yeah, it is. This is crazy. I can't imagine what it's like to look out your window and see that. And I think the barometer for a lot of Americans is, well, when do our senators start mentioning it? Or when does the president mention it? And I don't know if it will come to that. I mean,
let's qualify that a little bit. Mentioning it as the topic of a primary communique to the government, because certainly it has been mentioned by our lawmakers, and they're very actively involved. But I see what you're saying, mentioning it as the president is speaking about Ukraine. Let's listen, that type of thing.
Right, that type of thing. And we know how long it took for Syria to come up in that way.
Yeah.
Things had to get really, really bad. So we'll just keep our eyes on it.
Remember, this stems back to an uprising against Yanukovych in Ukraine over the influence that, so let's see, how can I reframe this? There was a possibility of Ukraine aligning itself more with the European Union as opposed to more with Eastern European influence. The initial protest was from Ukrainians who felt that they preferred an alignment, a trade alignment between the Ukraine and the EU, rather than more closely aligning with the forces and influence of Vladimir Putin. And this has now expanded to be a much broader umbrella under which Ukrainians are protesting. We will continue following it. The situation there is changing by the hour, and it's a very, very fluid situation.